The Battle of Yavin was a major turning point in the Galactic Civil War and showed the galaxy what the Rebellion was capable of. I'm Knight 1, and today we will be discussing the Battle of Yavin from the lead-up to the ultimate victory of the Rebel Alliance.
Admiral, receiving transmission from Scarif.
Hey, leave it. Leave it. That's it. That's it. Let's go.
Transmission received.
Admiral, we have the plans.
She did it!
During the Battle of Scarif, Jyn Erso and Rogue One had managed to steal detailed plans for the Death Star and transmit them to the Alliance fleet in orbit. These plans ended up with Princess Leia Organa as her ship, the Tantive 4, fled the battle. Imperial forces under the command of Darth Vader soon caught up with the princess and captured her and the rest of the crew of her ship. Leia was taken prisoner aboard the Death Star, but was ultimately rescued by Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Chewbacca. The group fought hard as they worked their way out of the station, but they were ultimately allowed to escape by Imperial forces. With the plans in hand, they traveled to the Rebel base on Yavin 4, closely pursued by the Death Star. The Rebels would have to quickly come up with a plan of attack if they were to have any chance of survival.
The battle station is heavily shielded and carries a firepower greater than half the Starfleet. Its defenses are designed around a direct, large-scale assault. A small, one-man fighter should be able to penetrate the outer defense.
Pardon me for asking, sir, but what good are snub fighters going to be against that?
Well, the Empire doesn't consider a small, one-man fighter to be any threat, or they'd have a tighter defense. An analysis of the plans provided by Princess Leia has demonstrated a weakness in the battle station.
An analysis of the plans identified a weakness in the battle station, a small thermal exhaust port leading to the main reactor, which, if hit by a proton torpedo, would cause a chain reaction that would destroy the entire station. General Dodonna briefed the Rebel pilots on the plan. The Death Star's defenses were designed for a direct, large-scale assault, but by using small one-man fighters, the Rebels would slip through the Death Star's main defenses, maneuver down a narrow trench leading to the exhaust port, and launch torpedoes through it, destroying it. With the Death Star fast approaching, Y-Wings from Gold Squadron and X-Wings from Red and Green Squadron were quickly scrambled to intercept the station. A total of only 30 ships were able to be deployed in the assault, with 8 Y-Wings and 22 X-Wings. Luke had found Han preparing to leave with his reward and confronted him about running away when the Rebels needed all the help they could get. Han retorted that it was a suicide mission, and in frustration, Luke told him to take care of himself. It was what he was best at. Han, in an attempt to show some care, told Luke to may the Force be with him. During the preparations, Luke was reunited with his old friend Biggs, but there was no time to catch up as they needed to quickly get in the air for what must have seemed like a true suicide mission. During the approach to the Death Star, Rebel pilot Wedge commented on the side of the station, and moments later the fighters began their attack on the Death Star's defensive turbo lasers.
This is it, boys.
Red Leader, this is Gold Leader.
I copy, Gold Leader. We're starting.
For the target shaft now.
We're in position. I'm going to cut across the axis and try and draw their fire. Heavy fire, boss. 23 degrees. I see it. Stay low.
Red 5, I'm going in. Are you alright? I got a little cooked, but I'm okay.
The first task for the Rebels was to take out as many gun emplacements as possible in order to create an opening for Gold Squadron to begin their run on the trench. The fighters made quick work of a number of towers as they were not designed to screen against starfighter attacks. During their strafing runs, however, a handful of pilots, including Jack Porkins, were shot down due to the sheer intensity of laser fire. During this time, a squadron of Imperial fighters were deployed to intercept the rebels and prevent them from causing further damage.
Several fighters have broken off from the main group. Come with me.
With both sides suffering casualties, Darth Vader and 2 other pilots launched to assist the others in eliminating the rebel forces. At the same time, Gold Squadron had begun their attack run on the exhaust port. Screaming down the trench, they encountered heavy fire from the turbolasers, but were surprised when the guns suddenly stopped firing. Moments later, they were engaged by Vader and his wingmen. The Y-wings were quickly destroyed before they could fire their torpedoes, forcing another run to be made. After the run, Grand Moff Tarkin, who was in charge of the station, was warned by other officers that there may be a danger and asked if they should evacuate. In his arrogance, Tarkin refused to leave in their moment of triumph, and opted to stay and watch the station destroy the rebel base. Back in the battle, sensing the need for as many runs to be made as possible, Red Leader ordered Luke to stay behind with Wedge and Biggs so that they could make another run should his team fail. Red Leader then made his run on the trench, and they quickly found themselves being chased by Vader. Although his wingmen were shot down, Red Leader was able to successfully fire off his torpedoes and hit the exhaust port. Unfortunately, it was not a direct hit, and to make matters worse, Vader had chased down Red Leader and shot him down. Running out of time and options, Luke, Wedge, and Biggs chose to go in at full speed in an attempt to outrun the TIE fighters. They too, however, quickly found themselves facing Vader. Vader was able to damage Wedge's fighter, forcing him to withdraw from the battle. Biggs was not so lucky. As he attempted to protect his friend from Vader, his ship took a direct hit, killing him and leaving Luke wide open. At this time, the spirit of Obi-Wan reached out to Luke, telling him to use the Force, and as Vader struggled to hit him, he also sensed the Force within Luke. Just as Vader was about to shoot him down, however, Han showed up at the last moment and took out Vader's wingmen, sending Vader himself careening away from the station as Luke fired off his torpedoes and successfully destroyed the battle station. With the Death Star destroyed, the remaining rebel ships returned to base to celebrate their unlikely victory. Luke, Han, and the other survivors returned to the cheers of their fellow rebels, and shortly afterwards were given medals during an award ceremony to celebrate their victory. The rebellion had scored its largest and most important victory of the war so far, and with only 27 casualties, they had managed to destroy the Death Star and all of the millions of personnel that were stationed inside of it. This battle also showed the galaxy that the rebels were a real threat to the Empire, and that they could be beaten. The Empire, meanwhile, was reeling from their loss, with much of the blame falling on Tarkin and his overconfidence. He had not brought an escort fleet, nor had he launched any additional TIE fighters other than 1 squadron. However, since Tarkin had died aboard the station, there was really no one that could be held accountable for the failure. The Empire would learn from this defeat, and would be more hesitant to underestimate the rebels from now on. I'm Knight 1, and that was the Battle of Yavin. Thanks for watching.